Hello, heroes. This is Take Me to Troy, Episode 8, The Forces Gather. So, when we left off last time, Agamemnon and Menelaus were leaving to gather all those guys that made those promises that they were going to help to defend the marriage of Helen. And Helen and Paris were sailing from Sparta to Troy on their honeymoon version, if you believe the version that Helen ran away with him on purpose because they fell in love. And that's where we're picking up the story. So Agamemnon and Menelaus, they go, and it's not too hard to convince all of those guys that swore that oath to defend Helen's marriage long time ago to gather their forces and get in their ships and sail to Mycenae to join in the effort to sail against Troy. There are two soldiers, however, who don't want to answer the call. They refuse the call to adventure. So let's talk about those two soldiers. The first one is none other than Odysseus. Remember him? Fell in love with Penelope, a love that's pure, and they have been just living the most happy life you can imagine in Ithaca. It's just the right size for them. Odysseus is happy with his new wife, and he's even happier when she gives birth to their first child, a son named Telemachus. He's still a baby. So, when Odysseus gets the summons from Agamemnon saying, "Dude, pack your bags, get your army, let's go," Odysseus doesn't want to do it. For a long time, he just ignores the summons, just doesn't even answer it. But that's not good enough for Agamemnon. Agamemnon really needs Odysseus because he knows that Odysseus is a smart guy. He's a really crafty strategist, which is always good to have on your side if you're fighting a war. So Agamemnon and Menelaus, they just can't let Odysseus stay at home. They've got to get him on board. So they sail for Ithaca, and when they land in the harbor, Odysseus gets word that they're on their way, and he panics. Oh my gosh, what is he going to do? He's not going to give up yet. He's still going to try to get out of being caught up in this war that he really doesn't care about. So when the two brothers come to the palace, they're walking through the fields surrounding the palace, and what do they see but an Odysseus who's raving hallucinatory things and yelling and acting all crazy, meanwhile pushing a plow in crazy lines, not in those nice straight furrows like you're supposed to drop the seeds in. Moreover, he's not only plowing in crazy squiggly lines, he's not sowing seeds in those furrows. He's sowing salt. If you know anything about farming, you know that if you sow salt in a field, you are going to render that soil infertile for a long, long time. So who but a crazy person would do something like this? That's exactly what Odysseus is hoping Agamemnon and Menelaus think. He's using the insanity defense. So Agamemnon and Menelaus see him in the fields. They see him raving. And Agamemnon's not buying it. He knows Odysseus and how clever he is. So Agamemnon feels like, I'm just going to outsmart the outsmarter. So he goes up to the palace, and he goes to the little baby Telemachus. Odysseus' son has a nurse, and he goes to the nurse, and he rips baby Telemachus out of the arms of his nurse, and he walks out to the field with this baby. And as Odysseus is plowing his crazy shapes in the dirt, Agamemnon places Odysseus' son right in the path of the plow. Well, of course, Odysseus swerves around his baby. He doesn't want to slice him in two. Oh no, he gave it up. The ruse is gone. Everybody's going to be able to see he's not crazy. A crazy person would have sliced his baby in two. Odysseus keeps him safe, avoids him. So Agamemnon goes up to him and he's like, "Dude, the jig is up. Pack your bags, pack your ships, get your men on board. You are coming to Troy with us." Odysseus is trapped. He can't get out of this one. So he packs his bags, he goes down to the wharf, He bids a very, very emotional goodbye to his beautiful wife Penelope, the love of his life, and he holds his son for one last time, not knowing when he's going to be back. And then he says goodbye, and he vows to Penelope that he will do everything in his power to return to her. That is going to be the promise that she's going to hold on to for 2 decades. And then he gets on the ship. Now, Odysseus is on board, not by choice, but he figures, if I've got to fight in this war that I don't really care about, I'm going to get every able-bodied guy to come with us so that we can end this thing as soon as possible and I can get home to my family. So he strategizes with Agamemnon and Menelaus, and he realizes there's still one really good fighter that they have to find. That warrior's name is Achilles. Now, I haven't mentioned him before. It's because he's pretty young. At this time, he's only about 15 years old. And you guys actually know his parents. Do you remember that super influential wedding that we went to up on Mount Olympus between Thetis and Peleus, the mortal guy? Well, Achilles is their son, and now he's 15 years old. There's a little bit of a backstory about him. The thing about Achilles is, well, first of all, his mother is a sea goddess, so he's part divine, which is pretty cool. It seems to have given him all kinds of crazy good fighting skills. We'll get to that in a moment. But he's got kind of an interesting childhood. His mother, as soon as she gives birth to Achilles, she realizes, oh no, what did I do? I married a mortal man. My son is not going to be mortal. I mean, her son is not going to be immortal. That's what I meant. Yeah, so Thetis is immortal. She's a goddess. She's never going to die. And her son is mortal. He is going to die sometime. So this kind of freaks her out. She's never associated with people who are going to die before she met her husband, and this is kind of a harsh reality. Add on to that, she seeks the advice of an oracle. Again, they're always doom and gloom. I don't know why she does this. I think she's looking for reassurance that her son will live a long life because she's kind of a helicopter mom, but the oracle does not give her peace of mind. The oracle tells her that, get this, a really horrific war is on the horizon. And if her son decides to fight in this war, he will do great deeds in battle, such that his name will live on forever. He's going to be the best fighter that the world has ever known, but he's going to die young. If he decides not to fight in this war, Achilles will live a long, uneventful, happy life. So this prophecy kind of pushes Thetis over the edge a little bit. She really flips out. Now there's a war that threatens her kid, but she really holds on to that, well, he's going to have a choice. He can opt out of the war and he can live a long life. And that's what she wants him to do. So, from the moment he's first conscious, Thetis is feeding him this story of his prophecy and telling him, son, you don't want to get involved in this war. That's the message he hears his whole childhood. Now, along with that, Thetis figures, hey, I've really got to do everything I can to protect my son. So she decides, first of all, to take him down to the underworld to the river Styx, because apparently if you bathe in the river Styx, it makes your skin impervious to weapons, knives, arrows, and the like. So, if by some chance Achilles does decide to fight in this war, she wants to make his skin so tough that nothing will pierce it. So she takes her baby, holds him by the ankle, and dips him into the river Styx. But what she doesn't consider is that she's holding him by the ankle. She should have turned him around and then dipped that ankle in the water, but she doesn't think of that. So Achilles is invulnerable to injury except for one spot on his excuse me, except for one spot on his body. His ankle. You guessed it, the Achilles heel. Remember that. The other thing she does is, well, apparently there's this weird procedure that gods and goddesses can go through to make a mortal immortal. It involves sticking a person in a fire and saying all kinds of charms over that person. I don't really know. If I did, hey, we'd all be making each other immortal. But I don't know exactly what it is because it's super secret goddess stuff. But anyway, Thetis tries to do that. She also takes baby Achilles and she sticks him in the fire in the middle of the night when she thinks her husband's not going to see, and she starts working her weird goddess magic on him. Well, her husband wakes up in the middle of the night. He comes to the hearth. He sees his wife sticking their son into the flames, and he's like, "What are you doing? You're a terrible mother." And he grabs baby Achilles out of the fire, and he says, "Get out of here. You are not going to take care of my son anymore. I'm going to raise him myself." And Peleus becomes one of the first single dads that I have ever read about in literature. So Thetis at this point is so angry that her husband is, in her mind, idiotic. He has no idea what she's doing. She leaves in a huff. She still manages to sneak around and see her son over all these years, but basically she stays out of Peleus' kingdom of Phthia. The two of them are separated for the rest of Peleus' life. Peleus takes over Achilles' training and education, and he educates his son as a warrior king. And during his training, Achilles is so accomplished as a fighter, even just in training, that word spreads, kind of like Helen with her beauty, word spread about her great beauty. Well, same is true of Achilles and his fighting prowess. Word gets around that he's an awesome fighter, and so it makes sense that Agamemnon and Odysseus want him on the Greek side of this conflict. So they set out to find him. But Thetis, his mother, has engaged in one last-ditch effort to save her son from getting involved in this war. She has dressed him up as a girl and hidden him in this kingdom with a king who's got a bunch of daughters. So that's where Achilles is hiding out, dressed in a dress with a veil over his head with a bunch of princesses, hiding from Agamemnon and Odysseus when they show up. Well, they have dinner at the king's house with all of his family, and they ask the king, "Hey, we're on the lookout for Achilles. We heard a rumor he might be somewhere in the vicinity. Do you know anything about that?" And this king says, "Yeah, no, I haven't seen or heard from Achilles. I don't know where he is." Well, Odysseus smells a rat. So the next day, Odysseus comes in disguise as a peddler man, pushing a little cart full of stuff to buy, and on one side of the cart is all this really awesome battle stuff like shields and swords and knives and bows and arrows and stuff like that, and on the other side of the cart is all the girly stuff, the perfumes and the scarves and the veils and the jewelry. And so all of the women from the king's household flock to this new peddler, and the women all go to the one side and they're trying on scarves and they're spraying perfume over each other and talking about what they want to buy and giggling, and all the men in the household are over at the weapons side. And it looks pretty hilarious when one of the girls, wrapped up in a veil, takes one of the shields, stands with it in front of her, takes a sword, and starts sparring with the other guys to test the weight of the weapon. Odysseus is no dummy. He rips the veil off of the head of this princess, and all of Achilles' beautiful golden hair spills out, and Odysseus says, "The jig is up. We've heard about you. You're an awesome fighter. Come fight with the Greeks." And the truth be told, Achilles is sick and tired of acting like a girl. It's just not his thing. So he's happy to throw off his dress, grab his weapons, pack up all of his warriors. He is leader of the Myrmidons, the the little army that Achilles commands is made up of men of Phthia, and they are called the Myrmidons. And so he loads them up on their ship, and now all of the army that Agamemnon is going to be commander-in-chief of is assembled at Mycenae and ready to sail for Troy. We'll pick up the story there next time.